Imagine walking past the garden center nursery and never spending another dollar because your backyard is already a self-replicating factory. You will learn the 3-step rooting system using kitchen scraps to secure a self-replicating food forest before winter. For decades, we have been conditioned to believe that growing a beautiful yard requires endless trips to the commercial nursery. But buying potted plants keeps you dependent on industrial supply chains and their soaring, chemical-heavy costs. Every time you buy a plastic pot, you are paying for the grower's heated greenhouses, transport fuel, and synthetic fertilizers. It is a fragile, expensive loop. But we can break that cycle. By propagating hardwood cuttings in October and November, you can start a free home plant nursery in your backyard over winter. According to retired OSU Extension horticulturist Neil Bell, you do not need any expensive greenhouses or bottom heat to make them grow roots. It is the ultimate act of biological independence. Your journey to self-reliance starts by harvesting the right twigs. In late fall, deciduous woody plants, the ones that shed all their leaves every autumn, go to sleep for the winter. This is called dormancy. Just like a bear packing on fat before sleeping for the winter, a dormant plant packs all its energy-rich starches and sugars into its woody stems. It is a built-in survival fuel tank, and we are going to tap into it. This winter cloning trick works incredibly well on popular, high-value landscaping plants like rosemary, rhododendron, hydrangea, and red-twig dogwood. Instead of buying these expensive shrubs, you can clone them for $0. Plus, taking fall cuttings of half-hardy shrubs like salvia serves as insurance against winter injury. If a brutal winter freeze kills your parent plant, you have dozens of clones, safe and ready to replace it. To start, walk out to your target shrub with a pair of sharp hand pruners. Look for healthy, mature, woody twigs from this year's growth. You want stems that are about the thickness of a pencil. Avoid the soft green tips at the very end of the branch. We want the firm, woody sections. A single healthy parent plant can theoretically yield dozens of clonal offspring from a single autumn pruning session. Every single nodal section containing dormant buds can form an independent plant. Once you have your branches, head to your work table. We are going to make precision cuts to turn these branches into individual clones. If you take a medial cutting from the middle of a stem rather than its tip, make a clean angled cut right above a leaf joint at the top and a straight cut right below a leaf joint at the bottom. Keep the twig a few inches long, ideally around 2 to 6 inches down the stem. These joints on the stem are called nodes, and they are where the magic happens. We make the bottom cut flat and the top cut angled for a very practical reason. It helps you keep track of which end is up. Before we plant, we must prepare the stem to focus 100% of its stored energy on making roots. Always pinch off any flowers and flower buds. If you leave them on, the plant's energy and stored carbohydrates will focus on fruit and seed production rather than root and shoot production, leaving no energy to grow roots. There is a strict, microscopic rule of gravity inside these stems. If you break it, your plant's internal highway shuts down completely. Plants have an internal plumbing system that only pumps growth hormones in one direction, down. The master hormone responsible for commanding a stem to grow roots is called auxin. Inside the plant, specialized pinform proteins act like a one-way gravity chute, dragging the auxin strictly basipedal, downward from the shoot tip to the base. This downward highway means roots will physically only emerge from the anatomically basal end. As a 1946 study by Van Overbeek observed, the action of the natural plant rooting hormone in the leaves is essential for plant cuttings to form roots at the basal ends. This means if you plant a cutting upside down, it cannot grow. Even if you turn the pot completely upside down, the internal hormone flow refuses to reverse, and the twig will starve. You cannot trick physics. Always make sure your flat bottom cut is the end going into the dirt. To make sure your stems are healthy before planting, scrape away a tiny sliver of the outer bark near the bottom cut using your pruners. You should see a bright green layer underneath. This is the vascular cambium layer of cells. If it is green and moist, your cutting is alive and ready. Now, we need a place to plant them. Standard potting soil is terrible for starting cuttings. It holds too much water and is packed with fertilizers, which will feed rot-causing mold and turn your fragile clones into mushy, rotted sticks.
The material you plant your twigs in must meet 3 primary criteria. It must drain well, hold some moisture, and be inert. A standard recommended rooting media consists of equal parts of coarse, sharp sand and peat moss. You can easily swap the sand for puffy volcanic perlite, which looks like white styrofoam and keeps the mix airy.
The absolute secret to keeping your cuttings alive is balance. The physical structure of organic waste media, particularly its water-holding capacity versus air-filled porosity, is the primary determinant of cutting survival and root decay prevention. Think of a squeezed-out sponge. It is damp, but still full of open air pockets, so you can breathe right through it. If your soil gets waterlogged, the roots drown and rot away. We are going to use a common kitchen waste item that contains a secret acid that mimics commercial rooting hormones, saving you a trip to the store. Instead of buying synthetic, store-bought chemical rooting gels, we can look to our kitchen waste to help support the growing environment. Common organic wastes like spent coffee grounds, coconut coir, and composted municipal waste are packed with dark organic compounds called humic acids. While they do not replace the plant's own internal rooting hormones, these humic acids exhibit auxin-like activity that stimulates lateral root emergence once they start. But there is a catch. While organic wastes can stimulate rooting, they often present high electrical conductivity, meaning high salinity, which can inhibit root elongation in delicate hardwood cuttings. To avoid this, research on food waste compost found that mixtures containing less than 50% food waste compost are necessary to support healthy seedling emergence and growth, as pure compost on its own is less effective than commercial potting mixes. Mix 1 part used coffee grounds or compost with 3 parts of your sand and perlite mixture. This dilutes the salinity while keeping the beneficial humic acids active. If you appreciate breaking away from commercial garden supplies, join us. We break one dependency every single week. With your airy, nutrient-poor mix ready, fill a black plastic seed tray. A single standard propagation tray can accommodate approximately 100 to 125 individual cuttings at the same time. You can generate hundreds of dollars worth of free plants in the space of a single shoebox. Poke a hole in your damp mix with a pencil. Dip the bottom end of your cutting into your rooting medium and insert it about halfway into the hole. Firm the mix around the stem. Now the biology takes over. In botanical terms, rooting cuttings relies on the totipotency of plant cells, allowing differentiated vascular cambium or phloem cells to de-differentiate and form root apical meristems. They revert back into blank slate cells, similar to stem cells, and transform themselves into brand new root tips. Keep your tray in a bright spot, out of direct sunlight, like the north side of your house or a cold frame. Keep the mix damp, but never soggy. And here is the wild part. High-quality leaf mold provides a natural source of beneficial microbes, like trichoderma, which suppress damping off pathogens in fall cuttings. Mixing a handful of decayed dark leaf mold into your starting mix naturally shields your cuttings from killer molds without using chemical sprays. If you want to speed up this process even more, you can use a natural hormone-dense home soak. While plants contain a few different chemical messengers, standard synthetic rooting auxins typically use indole-3-butyric acid, known as IBA, or alpha-naphthalene acetic acid, known as NAA, to mimic the plant's natural hormone signals at the wound site. Of the 3 main auxins, IBA is the most stable and useful for propagating plants from cuttings. You can find these natural hormones in abundance inside willow trees. Chop up fresh green willow twigs into 1-inch pieces, soak them in water for 24 hours, and use that willow water to drench your cuttings. This home-brewed hormone soak cuts your waiting time in half and drastically raises your cloning success rate. As retired horticulturist Neil Bell puts it, there's no need to complicate it. Even if you end up with 10% rooting, you've succeeded. And most of the time, you can do far better. Do not let another autumn pass by while paying retail prices for your garden. This cloning system is stage 1. Next, we will build a simple winter greenhouse that keeps these baby plants safe from freezing for free. Your action step for tomorrow is simple. Go outside, Find 3 healthy, woody stems on a shrub you love and take your first cuttings. Build your propagation box, mix your sharp sand and leaf mold, and take your first real step toward a self-replicating food forest. If you like this, 7 biohacks that force cuttings to root without store-bought hormone, that's the next one.